Today on our story, we're doing a lecture on a scholar by the name of Ivan van Sertima. He was a scholar, a Nobel literate, and a professor at Rutgers University. He wrote many books. His most famous books were They Came Before Columbus and The Golden Age of the Moors. I'm refeaturing him this year on our story because a lot of black people in America have a problem with being indigenous here to America and people from Africa. And they are getting on social media and they are having throwdown arguments over America being the birthplace to humanity. And by them being indigenous, they are the original parent race on the earth. So we want to clarify that whether it's Africa or America, yeah, you're right. Black people are the original parent race on this planet. And every other race came from the black race. So now that we cleared that up, and hopefully, it will ring out to a lot of people. We're featuring Van Sertima because he points out a lot of different things that we were brainwashed to think. So he had many famous books, and he had many books, but his famous books were They Came Before Columbus and The Golden Age of the Moors. Okay, and They Came Before Columbus, he points out how Columbus in his diaries states that a lot of the islanders that he came across, which he was in Cuba, he was anchored at Cuba. He points out that a lot of the people that he saw spoke the same language as the people that he left in West Africa, in Gambia. He also pointed out that the people were very friendly and they were dark-skinned, melanated Africoid people. Van Sertima points out how the Portuguese and Spanish drew maps to divide up the land over here and so forth. But his most scholastical work was how he did the footage on archaeological digs on how the Egyptian mummies had tobacco, cocaine, and cotton in their funerary mummies that were all elements of the Americas. So what he pointed out was that, which sort of blew my mind, was that the cocaine that they got out of the mummies' intestines or stomach area that was wrapped in cotton was the tobacco, cocaine, and the cotton that they got out of the mummies were all indigenous from America. That type of tobacco only grows in America. That type of cocaine only grows in South America. That type of cotton only grows in America. It did not grow anywhere outside of the Americas. So with that proves that these mummies that they dug up in Egypt, which was from the dynasty of Ramesses II, which was about 1,500 years before Christ, these people had gugobs of contact with people in America, or the indigenous people in this country or in this landmass. So that means that if the mummies had cotton, cocaine, and tobacco that was only indigenous from America, that meant that they did major trade with America. They were in contact with the people here that existed in America, and that the people here were in contact with them. So hats off to Ivan Van Sertima. He also traces the bloodline of the indigenous Americans who are hollering very loud on social media about their stance on their existence as the original man. Yeah, all black people are. Yeah, all black. The original man on this planet is an indigenous black man from Africa. They say. Now, they've yet to prove that there was an indigenous black man from America older than what they found in Africa. So, if 1,500 years before Christ, you're finding stuff in mummies that's only indigenous to America, that proves that the people in the old world or in Egypt or in Africa or in that area were in contact with the people here. Once again, we're pointing this stuff out because a lot of times, people over here are shouting out about, oh, my grandmama said we're the Wachita, we're the Cherokee, we're the this, that. Yeah, you probably are. You probably are that. You know, you probably been over here a long time. Because people have been selling back and forth way before. See, where our brainwash comes in is that this Columbus dude was the first to come over here or some shit like that, which makes it fucking ludicrous to me almost. Excuse my French. But that's what's confusing everything. He was the last to get over here. He was not the first, he was the last. So if you're seeing stuff like, then he goes on to talk about maize or corn that only grows, that's in West Africa now, and that was in the tombs that only grew in America. So that meant they had commerce with America. They were doing a business with the people over here. He points out that in 1311, Mansa Musa sent 200 ships over here. I think it was his nephew, one of his relatives, were in charge of 200 ships sailing off the west coast of Mali all the way over to the current that took it over to Nantucket or Newfoundland or somewhere over here. But anyway, these points that he's pointing out are prevalent because a lot of the people that are hollering, oh, I'm this, I'm that. Yeah, you might be. Because when they did this stuff, they just mixed people all up. They took the black people out of Europe and threw them in Nantucket. They took the black people out of America and threw their ass in the Caribbeans, and took some Caribbeans and threw their ass in Mississippi, and they was just mixing shit all up. That's all it was doing. So you can't know, if they mix you up and take you from your land, then you ain't got no rights over your land. And that's what they were doing. It's not hard to figure out. So anyway, he goes on to point out the Yucatan Peninsula and the Olmec heads and the big statues of the Africoid features that they were over there, I think, 900 years before Christ. So yeah, there was a lot of African influence in Central, South, and North America. Way before there was a Columbus, way before there were white people even migrating out of the area of Asia into Europe. This is nothing foreign. So it's nothing to argue about. Why are people arguing about that? Is what bothers me. So I'm just saying, they get on and they, and then the natives of the Native Americans, they get on and they say something, and yeah, you walked across the landmass, you was here too. You had black people coming and going. You had, just like you do now, you got people coming and going out of this country. Now you got guys trying to kick them out and shoot them and keep them out of the country. So you had the same thing going on back then. So where we get all confused is with the brain, the education we get. the free education that we get. That's where everything get mixed up at. And this Columbus character in 1492. Like, before him, there was nothing going on in the world. That's, you know, that's what they point out. Nothing before Columbus. So, but yet this guy goes and points out 15 things that was going on before there was a Columbus. You got big statue heads of black people. You got 200 ships being sailed by the nation of, not the nation of Islam, but by the Muslim nation. And you got one of the richest men in the world financing the navigation of the ships over here. You got all kind of stuff going on. You got mummies with tobacco and cocaine and cotton in their funerary procession. So there's nothing to argue about. It's just like, you know, you would find some American things in China right now because we do business with China. You find Apple, you find all kind of stuff over there. If 500 years from now, you would find some American stuff in China because we do business with China. So my suggestion to Africans in America and black folks in Africa, quit arguing over stupid stuff. All right. And with that, this takes off to a Black History Month, and thanks for listening.